Hello, and welcome to Muddy River Clay. I'm Mark, and today we are going to make some tiles. You can make these tiles to be installed in any application, such as a sink, bathroom. You can also put in holes and have a string and make them decorative. And to do this, we're just going to need a couple things today. Got some clay already rolled out. I do have a tile cutter. You can do this without. So if you don't have a tile cutter, you can create, say, a 4x4 or a 6x6 template and then just cut around it. I just happen to have one, so that's what I'm going to use. Once we go ahead and cut out the shape, then you can add anything that you want to it. And again, just give some thought to the final installation. Do you want to have holes? Do you want to have it to be installed as a tile? And also, as you're firing these and planning your design, think about shrinkage, which is something that clay does. So as you fire it and it goes through the firings, it could shrink about 10%, just depending on the clay that you use. I've got a couple of finished versions to show you what that looks like. So here's an example where you could use some letters, you can add some color. And again, I've decided to hang these. These are available on my site, Muddy River Clay. Here's another example. I have an image and I've just put a face on top of that. And you can really do anything that you want with tiles. All right, so to cut out the actual slab, I've got my clay slab cut out. I've got my tile cutter. This is a 4-inch tile cutter. And what's nice about using this is you're going to get nice, consistent, easy shapes. So I press down on that piece. So again, press down on the actual device, and then I'm going to go ahead and have that pull away. And I would recommend creating several of these at once, and then you can spend your time on the design. Now, some things to think about when you're making a square or rectangle or any type of shape that you want to remain consistent is it is going to move on you throughout the process. So what I like about having a tile cutter is I can come back and I can reshape it or I can square things off. And again, if you don't have a fancy tile cutter, just come back to your template. But as you move it, so for example, if I pick the piece up, it's already going to come out of shape a little bit. So just be cognizant of that. If having a squared off piece is really important to you, you want to just constantly be aware. The other thing to think about is when you try and dry this. So let's say I've designed it and then I'm going to let it dry. It is going to want to warp up, right? So depending on how you dry, there's lots of ways to avoid that. But if you just set this out on a drying rack or table, it is going to want to bend up. So ways to get around that, if your decoration allows, is you could put it in between two pieces of board. You could put some weight on top of it. You can use different things, but just keep an eye on it because it is going to want to move on you throughout the process. So for this piece right here, I'm going to go ahead and wet the edges down just a little bit and clean them up before I get too much of a shape on there. So you can see it's already starting to move just by me handling it and moving things around, and that's okay. But if you are installing this, say you're going to be a backsplash or some tiles in your bathroom, you want to be really conscientious of that. The ones I'm making tend to be a little bit more decorative, so this is more for design, and so I'm less worried about it. Okay, so to achieve a shape like this, I used a template that was already created. So this is a mold that I purchased online, and it's going to give me this really fun face, and then you can accentuate it any way that you'd like. So to do this, I'm going to take some clay and ball it up about the size of the opening, and then I'll squish it in and get it some shape. And these are just a fun, easy way to make a design work with. So I want to get it roughly the size of the opening, and I'm squishing it around here. All right, so now I'm going to squish it in, give it as much even pressure as I can. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to have the reverse. I'm going to have the face that's going to pop. So just make sure that you pressed it into that mold. And then I am going to slip and score. So that just means I'm going to put some indentations and add a little bit of water so that it sticks. And one other thing, before I put this on, I like to add my stamp on the back, and this would probably be a good time to do that before I start getting too decorative on the other side. So you can do a couple of things on the back. If you want to make it your own, you can use a tool to make some fun designs, and then I'll slip and score it. So what that means is I'm scoring or making some perforations into the clay. So I'm going to go ahead and add just these little tiny holes that no one knows about except you, all the millions of people watching this right now. But I'm just going to add these little tiny holes that will just let air through if needed, because I can't push it down completely and I can't get every single area to attach, which is what I would prefer to do if I didn't want this beautiful decoration. All right, so now I am just cleaning up the edges, and this would be great by itself. I think it's a fun design. It's not an original design. It's one that I just purchased a mold offline and added. But what I'd like to do is add some of my own elements to that. So you've got the beautiful moon here that really looks great by itself. I don't think it needs too much, but I think we could enhance the sun. So I'm going to come back in here with some little pieces of clay, and this is freshly out of the bag. So again, I could slip and score it. I know there are people who have feelings about that, but I'm just going to go ahead and place these on here, different sizes, just like the actual sun. And then I'll come back with my pin tool and squish them into the clay. The other thing I want to start thinking about too is, what is the glaze going to look like? I'm actually going to glaze these in a raku firing. So I hope you'll come back to watch that. All right, so I'm going to take this tool and I'm just going to make this nice indentation. Make sure that it's adhered to itself. Give it some sun rays there. And then coming back again, being aware that it's already moved and it's already changed just a little bit. It's a simple, short video. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 holes here. I remember being so nervous about where to add the holes and how to add the holes. You just want to make sure they go all the way through, that they're as aligned as possible. And then later, if I want to go ahead and add some rope or some twine or something, I could do that. All right, that's it. Thanks for joining us today. Come on back to another video, and soon these will dry, be fired, and I'll run them through a raku firing. Thanks for stopping. Have a great day.